Hey guys, Shadow here! So today, I'm going to be making a deck profile on the Hoshido deck. This is going to be a pure white deck. This deck is super fun, super spammy, and you can get some level 1s up to some ridiculous attacks. Let's get started. Starting off, we got 2 level 1 Corrins, so when he's sent to the discard pile by a support, the card that you're attacking with to gain extra damage, so they'll do 2 orbs instead of 1. Right now, I'm in the process of not using level 5 Corrins, not because I don't have any, well that too, but also I realized that level 5s require a lot. You need to first level them up usually from your level 4, and then after that you're going to need to discard another level 4, plus flip 3 bonds face down to even use the effect, and you have to have a bunch of cards on the field because you want them to gain the attack from his effect. So usually level 5s aren't so great, and I've noticed that, so I'm using 2 level 1s instead. Next we got 4 copies of the cost 4 Corrin. He's really good. He boosts all your cards' attacks by 10 when you have 3 or more other units on the field. So he is like the main driving force of the deck, and that's why he's our lord. Next, we have 2 copies of Aqua. So I'm still a little iffy on her right now. Her effect allows you to boost something by 10, but the problem is her support stat is only 10. So yeah, the main reason I'm using her is because she's a level 1, so she's really easy to get on the field, and also she has a support effect that allows you to restand a 2 or lower unit that's attacked already. Next, we're using Sakura. So we got 4 copies of her level 1, 2 copies of her cost 3, and 2 copies of her cost 4. So she's just our priest. She's going to help you get back your stuff to help you spam your field next turn. Her cost 3 is pretty good. It's a trigger effect, so that means you don't have to actually tap her to use it. Her effect activates when one of your units destroys some other card by battle. I've realized that trigger effects are actually really good since you're not actually wasting anything to even use it. You can still attack with her after you use the effect. So that's why I'm using 2 of her. We got the cost 4 version of her. So her effect allows you to flip 4 bonds face down and get 3 cards back from your discard pile. So this is super useful, but the cost is really high. Flipping 4 bonds face down is kind of unlikely. So usually you're going to get this effect off once per game, maybe twice per game if you're lucky. So that's why I'm only using 2 copies of her. And next we got 4 copies of the level 1 Takumi. So honestly, I think he is the best archer maybe in the game right now. So his effect allows him to gain 10 when you have a cost 3 or lower unit on the field. Or higher, sorry. Cost 3 or higher unit on the field. And this includes your main character. So most of the time his attack's already going to be 40, which is stronger than most archers in the game. So we're using 4 copies of the class change version of him too. So he's being a base 60 attack for an archer is really good, especially since your main character can boost him up to 70 attack. His ability is what makes him super good though, and that's why I'm using 4 copies of him. So all you need to do is flip 1 bond face down, and you can move any of your cards around. You don't even have to tap him. This allows you to attack with cards that are usually in your rear, like Sakura for example. This allows you to attack with cards that usually don't have a mobility. So you can move anything around, attack, and then maybe if you have other cards, you can move cards right back. This deck is full of archers, so that makes its effect really good, since you can move your archers to the front, or place some archer in the front, attack, and then move them back later. And next off, we got 4 copies of the cost 1 Hinoka, so like a bunch of the other card effects from the Hoshido decks. She also gains plus 10 under special conditions, so when you have 2 or more other Hoshido units on the field, she'll actually gain an extra 10. And because she's a flyer, she has 30 support, which makes her pretty good to use in these decks. So next, we're going to be using 4 copies of the class changed Hinoka. So her ability allows you to play her as a cost 2 promotional cost when you have Hinoka and 2 other units on the field. So that means her cost will be 2, which helps you spam the field, because you don't have to use less cost this turn, so you can play some other cards. So her first ability actually allows you to tap 1 bond and increase 1 unit's attack by 30. So this only works on units that are 30 or lower, so that way you don't boost your main character and make him like 100 attack. But that's why we're using Sasuna and also Aqua, because they only have 30 attack. So you can boost them to make them 60, and then your main character potentially can boost them to 70 attack. So now we got 4 copies of cost 1 Emma. So her effect allows you to move 1 card by tapping her. Sounds familiar, right, in Crom decks? So she has 30 support, which is really good because she's a flyer. So you just put her in the back, you can attack with some archers that you place in the front, and then you can move them to the back later. Next, we got 4 copies of the cost 5 Ryoma. We're not using any of the level 1s because you want to minimize the number of 10 supports you have in a deck. The level 1 also isn't that great, and the cost 5 is amazing. So being a cost 5, it'll take you a while before you can actually play him, but once you do, during the start of your turn, you can actually flip one bond face down and play a cost 1 from your discard pile. So this really helps you with spamming the field, and also if you have 4 or more other units on the field, he actually gains an extra 20 attack and can attack far away. But since this deck has such good mobility with Takumi and Emma, you can actually move him to the front whenever you want. Or you can keep him in your back, play a card, and then move him right to the front to attack. So next, we got 4 copies of the level 1 Setsuna. She's 30 attack, so she can be boosted by Hinoka, and also, she gains an extra 10 attack when she attacks while Hinoka is on the field. So as you can see, she can easily become 70 attack, and she's a cost 1. And being an archer, of course, when you mill her as a support for an attack, she's going to give you plus 40 attack. So next, we got 2 copies of the cost 3 Setsuna. So originally, I thought she was like the worst archer ever since she only has 30 attack. But her ability allows her to gain 30 attack when she declares an attack. So this gives her 60 attack, which is really strong for a cost 3 card, especially an archer. And being 30 attack, she works really well with Hinoka. So when Hinoka activates her effect, she can actually boost Setsuna by another 30, and then when Setsuna attacks, she'll gain another 30. And lastly, I think this might be a really good level 1, and we're using 4 copies of level 1 Kana. So her effect is pretty much like Tiki's. She gains 30 attack when you have 4 bonds on the field. So her effect is pretty... Next, we're using 4 copies of cost 1 Kana, and I think she might be the best level 1 in this deck. So like Tiki, she'll gain 30 attack when you have 4 or more bonds on the field, making her 60 base attack, except your main character boosts most cards by 10 when you have 4 cards on the field, right? So her attack will actually be 70 attack, just pretty much just playing her if you have 2 other cards on the field. That's ridiculous. A cost 1 card with 70 attack. So that's why we're definitely using 4 copies of her. And also, when you send her as a support, she gives you bond acceleration, so that's always helpful. And lastly, I think this might be a really good level 1, and we're using 4 copies of level 1 Kana. So like Tiki, she'll gain 30 attack when you have 4 or more bonds on the field, making her 60 base attack, except your main character boosts most cards by 10 when you have 4 cards on the field, right? So her attack will actually be 70 attack, just pretty much just playing her if you have 2 other cards on the field. That's ridiculous. A cost 1 card with 70 attack. So that's why we're definitely using 4 copies of her. And also, when you send her as a support, she gives you bond acceleration, so that's always helpful. Now, I know this game can get pretty expensive, so if you can't afford some of these super rare cards, you can use some other cards as a replacement. So for level 4 Hinoka, you can actually replace her with level 3 and it'll be just as good. So level 3 Hinoka actually allows you to move all your units when you deploy a Hoshido unit. So with her, and if you have copies of your level 4 Takumi, you can actually move cards around super easily. So with her effect, during your turn, when you play a card, you can move everything you want, maybe move all your archers to the front, attack all their back row, and then after your attacking is done, you can use Takumi's effect to move them all right back. And next we got Sakura. So I was lucky enough to pull 2 copies of her from my box opening, but if you don't have her, you can actually use Felicia instead. This Felicia is actually okay, but honestly, I think that Felicia is the best. So she has 1 to 2 range, which is super good, since she can attack back row, and that's what this deck does. You know, you can put cards in the back, protect them, and you can attack far away. And also, she has the healing ability. Since you're using less Sakuras, you can use her to heal yourself. Next, we got Ryoma. So if you don't have any copies of him, you can actually use the class change version of Emma, since we don't have any of those in the deck at the moment. She's 30 support, she's an archer, so she can attack far away, and she gains an extra 10 attack when you mill a flying unit while attacking or battling with her. But Ryoma actually isn't super expensive right now. I think he's about 10 to 12 bucks, so it's not so bad to pick it up. And for Takumi, you can actually replace him with a lower version of him. So honestly, his class change level 4 is super good, and I don't think the level 3 is anywhere close to it. But if you're really short on funds, the level 3 would definitely work for now. So the level 3 actually has the ability to attack 3 spots away. So it's like a longbow. You flip one bond and you can attack any spot in the back row with his ability. So usually he'll be in your back because you wouldn't use the effect otherwise. So he'll be in your back line, and then you can flip one bond and attack 3 spots away. So what do you guys think? Did I leave something out? Is there something I should test out? Leave it in the comments below. I mean, this deck has only been out for like 2 weeks, right? So I haven't been able to do too much testing with it. So any comments are really appreciated. And as always, toodly-doo, I gotta poo. I'll see you guys next time.